going on, everybody? You are live with Osiris. Welcome to the Author's Lounge. The world is filled with storytellers, and I, along with my guests, are here today in the Author's Lounge to help educate and inspire the young generation of writers and creators. Now, my guests are professionals in publishing, writers from a wide range of formats, and successful entertainers. They will provide beneficial advice on what to do and what not to do on your path to success. So, without further ado, I'll present to you our next guest. Let's go. Let me state the obvious really quick. My left eye, right eye, one of your sides. Yeah, my left eye, sorry, might be slightly dyslexic, is, I don't know what happened to it. I wasn't punched in the eye by anybody. I wasn't bitten. It was something that happened, so it's going to look a little bit of like a lazy eye right now, but I contemplated wearing an eye patch or not, but I said, you know what? I'm not going to hide. I'm just going to go and do this and have a good time. So I have a wonderful guest here with me today. She was a joy to speak with prior to this recording and a pleasure to connect with in our initial meetup over the internet. So we have a writer, we have a producer, and we have an actor and a career coach all looped into one. She has an extensive background in the entertainment industry when it comes to filmmaking. So I'm very much looking forward to what she's going to be able to provide to the audience today. So without further ado, I present to you Miss Jodie Bentley. What's going on, ma'am?
Hi, nice to see you. Thank you for that intro.
Oh, yeah. Yes, indeed. Thank you very much. So, before I go deep into the questions and everything, I would like to say that, again, I know I said this offline, but I want to say it again, that your time is very much appreciated.
Oh.
And granted, with your schedule, being able to squeeze me in even for 20 to 30 minutes, it's so humbling, and I'm really grateful for it. So thank you again.
Of course. So glad to be here and talk about the arts and writing and entertainment and all of that, 'cause it's such a huge part of our culture. And it's something that gets to be nurtured for sure. So,
Absolutely.
yeah.
Yes, indeed. So while on that topic of writing, I understand that you have a film. Granted, it's not out yet, still very much in the pre-production phase. But
Yes.
I know you wrote the film that is in pre-production. So let's talk a little bit about that. Where did the idea of this film come from, and how did you get it put onto paper and finally to this point of pre-production?
Yeah. Well, let me clarify that we're in development. So we've got development money. We're in Well, pre-production means like all the money's in the bank and we're going. I can't wait to be in pre-production.
Okay.
But we still.
I'm a novice. What I'm talking
no,
about.
you're good. You're good. So we still got miles to go there. But no, we're solidly in development, and it's really, really exciting. So you know. I'm an actor first and foremost, right? But for years I always wanted to write something. Like I wrote a play when I was in my 20s, and I did a reading of it and kind of let it go. And I was like, I don't know if writing's for me. And then the older that I got, I kept thinking like, I have a story to tell, and I just didn't know what it was, right? It was easier for me to say other people's words and scripts than to like write my own.
Yeah.
And then there was a point where this is going to get a little dark, I suppose, but but it's all good. I lost both my parents. I lost my dad in 2018. He had leukemia and then had a heart attack. And a few years later, I lost my mom, and she got dementia. And there was this whole like 3 years of my life taking care of them. Yeah. And quite honestly, as a kid, even growing up, I really took care of my parents. I was very much the mediator, the caretaker, the empath in the house, the everything in the house. So I knew there was a story in there that I wanted to share, because I know that people in my generation and age demographic are starting to deal with parents who are older and getting sick, and things are happening, and dealing with the healthcare system and money and all of that. So I had an idea for a script in the back of my head. And quite honestly, I was scared to write it because I didn't know how. I hadn't written a screenplay yet.
Yeah.
So I educated myself on that writing, right? How the heck do I write this thing?
For sure.
But around that same time, there was a guy that I'd known who was also an actor and a teacher, and we worked at a university together. And I saw like a Facebook post that he wrote that said that his dad had died. And this was literally a year to the date almost after my dad had passed. And his dad had passed of leukemia. And I reached out to him and, we were, sending condolences, back and forth. And then maybe 6 months later, I saw him post like, oh, the 6-month anniversary of his dad. And then I just started thinking, and because he's a writer as well.
Yeah.
And I reached out to him and I said, James, I have an idea for a script. Would you be willing to, hop on a call? He's like, I would love to. So we got on a Zoom. We started chit-chatting. I pitched him my idea. And I literally told him my entire life story, basically of what happened. And at the end of I don't know how long that was, a long time, he said, well, we don't have to embellish anything. And I was like, no, we don't. No, we don't. And we got to writing, and it was a lovely collaboration. And I said to him, I said, I want this first pass to be the truth. I just want to get my truth on paper of what happened. And then we can go, we don't need this. We don't need this. Let's dramatize this. Let's get rid of that. Right. I said, I just want to get the truth out. And number one, it was so cathartic and so much part of my healing process to write that. More than years of therapy could have done. I think writing that was just so helpful. And then it was just so freeing and lovely to have such a great collaborator and my writing partner, and to sit down on these sessions and write and have him learn the voice of my mom and the voice of my dad, and then have his dad combined with my dad and create that character and go deeper. And it was just really lovely. And it actually started off as a TV series, like the first episode of a TV series, and then it morphed into a film script, which is, it feels more cinematic. So that was kind of how it happened. But we've been, I would say, writing it now for 3 years.
Wow.
Yeah. I mean, because again, it started off as a TV series and we got a lot of notes on that. And then people were like, make the world bigger, make the world bigger. And I was like, actually, it's a really small story about this dysfunctional family, and what happens at the end of their lives. And really it's about the time in your life when you parent your parents, and how we get to take care of these people that might have hurt us in some capacity, and how are you dealing with your own trauma but taking care of someone else. So we really wanted to explore that. So but we literally got together every Thursday for 3 hours and wrote. And it took 3 years. But now here we are.
What a story. What a story, and the connection that you and your partner were able to make to create this story. And see, one of the things that, as a writer myself, one of the things I preach, or I encourage people to do, is to put their truth into their stories. I believe most of the time when there's a struggle, either they come to some sort of creative block, or their truth is not necessarily shining through the story, and so it makes it more difficult and to be able to generate a story so flawlessly. But when you also have a collaborator with you, I'm in agreement with you also that get out everything, put it out. It may it may look sloppy. I'm not saying yours looks sloppy.
No, it was definitely sloppy.
Oh yeah. It may look kind of like the equivalent of taking a sketchboard, or taking a big piece of painting board, or whatever the phrase is, and you just start throwing things on there.
Yes, exactly.
Sure, right?
Exactly.
You're not sure what it looks like now, but you know what it's supposed to look like. And I think that's the magic of writing. And also to know another piece of the magic in writing that you mentioned, that you felt it was so cathartic to write all of that down in such a healing process. I wonder, right? Because in therapy, I'm not a therapist, but sometimes in therapy, I know that's highly encouraged, just to journal. Was that almost in a sense for you, a sense like journaling, with putting that down, or how was that for you?
That's a great question. I guess yes and no. The first thing that popped in my head when you asked me that was, we go through life seeing things through our own filters. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And, I didn't have a very close relationship with my mother, and it got messy at times, and we both kind of got stubborn in our own ways, right? And I kept seeing the things through my filter, and writing her character. Now I'm going to cry. Writing her character, just like helped me understand probably even more than I did then where she was, or what I could imagine where she was. She might have been somewhere different, right? But I think it helped me just understand her more. Because I couldn't just be all about my point of view and my character. It had to be, as we're writing, it has to be what does that person think and feel, and what's their limiting beliefs and deep wounds keeping them from connection or whatever it may be. And I think where journaling is kind of like, these are all my feelings about everything, This was kind of like, I had to put myself in her shoes. I had to put myself in my dad's shoes, my sister's shoes, and go, wow, what was going on for them in this moment? And I think that was really humbling.
For sure.
And I think that was part of the healing process of, I think healing is really understanding where someone else is coming from, and maybe not agreeing with them necessarily, but going, I get it. I understand.
Oh, absolutely. Yes, indeed. And it's hard sometimes as a writer when you're, I would like to imagine that as writers, we are emotionally invested in our story. But I think there's a different element of emotional attachment when it actually is something that is almost, in a sense, like a biography or almost a documentary style, where you're so vulnerable and you're putting so much of you into this story. And I'm wondering how it's going to be on set. Are you going to be acting in this movie as well?
Yes.
Okay. And so I know that's way down the road, but I remember I was speaking with another actor who also wrote a film, but it was really difficult for them to go in and out. They said they would have to switch hats on a dime, but you all are highly skilled in the arts of acting.
Yeah.
But I can't help but imagine how difficult it can possibly be for you to kind of go back and relive some of these things. Have those been thoughts for you?
Yeah, well, what's interesting is we just brought on board our director. So my writing partner and the director, we all read the script again this week. I hadn't read my own script in a couple months. Sometimes you need like the break from it, And we actually had a creative meeting this morning, from the time of this recording. And even going back and reading it, I can't get through the script without crying. And because it is obviously an emotional journey for me, but I think I'll say this, I think what I'm proud of that we've done with the writing is, yes, it's a very personal story, but everyone who reads it talks about how relatable it is in so many ways, right? So I think it's this specific story that has a universal appeal. But now as acting, which is your question, even like the director was talking about this one scene in this moment. He's like, oh, when we do this scene, it might just be that you have a thought about your dad here. And as soon as he said that, like I welled up with tears this morning. Do you know what I mean? So I was like, but it doesn't, like I said, I feel like I've healed so much over the past years with it that acting it out or reading it or doing anything now, like it doesn't feel like I'm reliving it.
Yeah.
But I'm still feeling it. But I can feel it and I can move through it and let it go. But it's still an emotion and a feeling that I can tap right back into because it's my life and it's there and it was hard and it's emotional. But I don't know. Look, I'm saying all these things now, but talk to me in April maybe when we're on set and I'm like, I don't know what's happening, Osiris. I'm a mess. Come help me.
Like dear goodness. Yeah, it will probably likely.
What did I do?
The story is so profound.
I'm sure it'll be hard.
Yeah, no, for sure. And
but I mean that's why now we'll cross the bridge exactly. But I think that's why I'm feeling really strong about the director that we've hired, that he really gets the script, he really gets the characters and the vision and the pain and the humor and the joy, and he gets it.
Yeah.
And so I feel like when I'm on set, I'll be able to kind of let go of writer hat, let go of producer hat, and be actor Jodie, listening to this person that I trust and relinquishing that control to just be in the moment with it.
For sure.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, that's good to know, right? That you at least have a game plan going into it. It might be a different story come April, but at least you kind of have these thoughts of
Right.
you're well versed in the story, so you know kind of what to expect and how things may be. I'm curious too, just not a
Exactly.
question, just on the fly. Sometimes there may be scene changes, but because you're also the writer, that's probably a gift in itself. But I wanted to ask, right, that it's all about the journey and how you came to be. But how did you get started in the business as an actor to begin with?
Great question. I kind of, touched upon it a little bit. When I was a kid, I was very much very responsible. I felt very responsible for the well-being of my entire family. And so I loved going to school. I loved getting out of the house. I loved the arts. I found, we had such a huge arts program and singing and show choir and chorus and drama club and got into all of that. So I feel as a kid that really saved me in some way and just allowed me to be seen and heard in a way that I hadn't been.
Right.
A lot. I'll say that. Not that I never was, but you get my point. So I started acting when I was like 10 years old, and had my first professional theater gig at 10 with like a touring company that came through our hometown, and I got to audition and got a part in it, and it was very exciting. And so theater was a part, and just performing was just a part of my life since I was a kid. And I've always been an overachiever, high achiever person. And so, during, high school, I was, the president of the drama club and the lead in the plays and the musicals and all of that. And there was a point where I was like, I might want to do this as a career. And my parents were very supportive, actually. They were very supportive of it. And on the flip side, I was like I was very smart in school. I was ranked third out of my class in high school, which was almost 1,000 kids. In my high school, it was a huge high school. My graduating class was almost 1,000 kids. So it was huge. So I was torn between cardiology and being a doctor or being an actor. And I couldn't decide. I was like, well, they're very different paths. But I decided to audition for drama schools, and NYU, Tisch School of the Arts, accepted me early with a scholarship. And I was like, well, I'm gonna go to acting school, and I'll just be a doctor in a TV series one day. That'll be great,
That worked out for you
so there we
well.
go. So I'm so glad that I did. I can't imagine my life if I'd gone the other way. I love. I mean, it's. I'm not gonna lie. It's tough being an artist. Like it's tough. It's not easy, right? It's like I do multiple things because all those multiple things is what brings in the income to be able to be an artist, right? I don't make all my money from acting. I don't make all my money from writing. I don't make it all from here. It's the piecing it all together. But I wouldn't change it for the world. No, I'm so glad that I made that choice.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
And I think I'm happy that you touched on that as well, because people who are outsiders who are looking into it see that, oh, wow, they look at them, look at the glitz, look at the glamour, look at how nice their faces look and how they have their hair done. I mean, I can't relate to the hair, but I would imagine if I had it, I can probably make it look flawless too. But that's besides the point. But
Just shine it up. Shine it up, Osiris.
Oh yeah, keep it like a Mr. Clean. But oh, but in all seriousness, right? They see that. I wonder how it really is, and so I'm glad you pointed out. No, it's hard. Like regardless of how established you are, it's hard. You're out there. You're grinding it out, and not just one or two, but three, maybe
Yeah.
sometimes even four different niches or different skill sets that you have to have in order to like make a living out of it. But if
Yeah.
you love it enough, it's worth the fight, you
Sure.
know? And the industry itself is there's no real solid trajectory that you are on with it. Like, for example, if you had gone that other route, being a
Right.
doctor, you can pretty much lay out the game plan for the week. You're probably going to have this amount of patients for throughout
Right.
this weekend. It's more linear. Not that it's a bad thing whatsoever, but the unpredictability that comes with the business that you're in, on top
Right.
of the love that you have for it, I would imagine makes you push even harder. Is that a safe assumption?
Yeah, I mean, yes, I mean, you have to love it. Number one, like you said, and number two, you got to be in it to win it. Like
Yeah.
you got to be in it to win it. You know, that's why even with my like, I talk to writers sometimes where they go, "Oh, I didn't feel creative enough to sit down and write." It's like, no, you just need to sit down and write and start writing, and the creativity will come. You know, like
Exactly.
that's why my writing partner and I were like, every Thursday at 10 a.m. we're getting together. You know, like there's no non-negotiable. You
Yeah.
know, and I think as an artist, you get to make your creative time non-negotiable.
Gotcha.
But yeah, I mean, it's definitely challenging, you know, but the payoff is so worth it. Like I work for myself. You
Yeah.
know, I don't work for somebody else, and I get to dictate my days. And I had a creative meeting this morning, and then I had a meeting with my assistants in my coaching business, and then I got to write some marketing for my coaching business, and now I get to be here with you. And like every day is different, and I love that.
Yeah, for sure.
But yeah, you get to be willing to take risks, put your butt on the line on a daily basis. Send cold emails on LinkedIn. We were talking about LinkedIn prior to this recording of reaching
Yeah.
out to other people in the industry, you know, to go, hey, let's connect. What are you doing? I'm doing this. What can I help you with? You know, and really building your community. Because
Right.
I mean, it takes a village. It really does. You know, like, you know, everything, where I've gotten to, even in my own career. And of course, I have aspirations to go for way further, right? That's the thing of being an artist is, I think there's also a piece of never satisfied, because as soon as you get one thing, you want another thing and another thing and another thing. Now I lost my train of thought. What was it? Now I forgot what I was saying. Anyway, you do have to be in it to win it and keep going, you know, and not taking no for an answer and not letting that get in your way, and really just believing in your vision, you know. And that's one thing I always say to my clients too, because, you know, I coach actors on branding and marketing and building their own business. I coach them on, if you don't believe in yourself, how do you expect someone else to fully believe in you?
So aside from the actor side that you have and the writing side that you are diving into, let's talk a little bit about the side, your producer side.
Yeah.
How I've often heard from actors who are also producers and writers that producing, hands down, is the hardest part about the industry. I know it's an individual opinion, but I'm curious to know
Yeah.
for you, what has your experience been like as a producer? Has it been more
Yeah.
difficult in that regards as a producer than the other roles you play?
Oh, I'd agree. I would agree.
Okay.
So I lived in New York City for a long time, right? And when I moved to Los Angeles in 2013, actually. And when I moved here, that's when I really started producing. Well, I guess I produced something right before I left New York, but I flew out to LA to produce it. And like my first 2 years in LA, I produced like 3 shorts and a feature film. And I was like out of the gate, like, yes, let's do this. And it was really hard. And I was good at it. Like I was really good at it. Like I'm I'm an overachiever, type A, organizer, planner. Like I get it. I can do it. But what was challenging about it? Well, 2 things. One, I wanted to produce originally to tell the stories that I wanted to tell, right? To start to leave a legacy, right? So it's not
Right.
necessarily as an actor. I get the auditions that come through my agent and my manager, but they might not exactly be the story I want to tell, right? But I want to
Right.
be on that TV show, so yeah, I'll go do that role, But so that's why I wanted to produce, was to take back some more control, right? But because I was good at producing, I had so many people reaching out to me going, "Oh, can you produce my short? Can you do this? Can you do that?" And I was like, "Oh, but I wanted to produce also to create opportunities for myself and to tell these stories." So I kind of got sucked down a path for a while that got away from my own vision, right? Like, Osiris, I hate horror movies. I hate them. I'm a big old baby. I don't like watching them. Okay,
too.
and granted, I've seen things like I just saw Sinners. I loved it. Right, that was different for me. I could handle that. And it was really well done. But for the most part, I don't want to watch the horror movies. They're like I don't want to live that. But I found myself in the middle of producing a feature length horror movie, and I'm like, what? There was a moment on set that I was like, what am I doing? How did I get here? So I took a step back for a while because I just needed to refine my voice again. And I think, they always say, say yes to everything. Sure, right? But say yes to everything that's in alignment with what you want to do, especially as an artist, because it's so easy to say yes and then get sucked into everyone else's vision and then you lose yours.
Right.
And I can't tell you how many artists I talk to that they're like, "Oh yeah, I really wanted to be doing sitcoms and comedy," and they're like doing indie film, and it's like, "How did you get here?" And they're like, "I don't know," like they really wanted to be over there. So so I found that happening to myself, and I was kind of proud of myself that I was like, I need a timeout. I need to give myself a timeout here and recalibrate. So I think that's why it was hard. So now coming back to producing, this is my first foray back in with my own script. So it's reminding me what I love about producing. Like I love putting the puzzle pieces together. Like I love finding the team and let's find the money, and I found the development money, and let's create this, right? I want to create the foundation to then let someone else be the on-set producer. I have no desire to be the on-set producer. I want to be the creative development producer.
Yeah.
So at least now I kind of know what I want to do, and I know the stories that I want to tell. And I have a couple other projects on my slate from other writers that I know that I'm like, oh, I can get behind that story. That makes sense. I can get behind that story, right? So I'm kind of helping them with pieces. So that was kind of that journey. But the other part that made producing hard, when I first moved to Los Angeles, and then I was producing this feature, this horror feature, and I would go to networking events, and I went to this one networking event in particular. And at this point, we needed a production designer. And I was talking to some gentleman at this event, and I was like, "Oh yeah, I'm working on this film, and I need a production designer." However, the conversation came about, and he was like, "Oh, my friend is a really great production designer. I should introduce you." And I was like, "Great." And then his friend came over and he was like, "Oh yeah, she has a film, so this guy's producing it, and so I can introduce you to him. She can introduce you to him." And I was like, time out. I'm like, I'm the producer. That I found it was in Hollywood. I found being a female producer was challenging. I found that the men in the industry weren't taking me seriously. They thought, even though I was there talking about the project, that there had to be a man who was producing it behind, above me.
Yeah.
And that was really, I think he was like, "Oh, where is the producer? Where is he?" I was like, "She's right here." And that I found was really interesting. Just of how much of a male dominated industry it is, so that was a little bit challenging of finding my way in that in an industry that is dominated predominantly on that side with men was challenging.
Yeah, but I would imagine too, just the backbone that one has to have, and the heart, and the grit, and the determination to say, "No, this is how I want it to be, and you're either with me or you're not." And not even in a malicious way, not in a degrading way, not in a way that's condescending, but hey, look, yep, this is who I am, this is what I represent. If you don't like the fact that I'm a woman, then on to the next person. And it's unfortunate too, because it
Right.
seems like that's just a thing in society, unfortunately, where it comes to sex or gender or sexual preference or what they look like. That unfortunately sometimes
Right.
plays against the
Yeah.
person, and you have to work twice or even
Yeah.
triple twice as hard or three times as hard to get by
Right.
when it shouldn't be that way. But you've been doing well for yourself, and I think that goes without saying. You being in New York, I used to hear this as when I was younger, growing up, that in the United States, if you want to be in the entertainment industry of any sort, if you are in New York or if you are in Los Angeles and you can survive in either or, then you can survive anywhere. And the fact that you've been in both sides
Right.
and theater again,
And
I'm an
survived
outsider.
both, Osiris.
Yeah, yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
where are you?
I'm in
Where are
Washington
you?
State. I'm in Washington State right now. But I was in
Oh,
SoCal in
nice.
Southern California in the Mojave Desert, stationed there at Edwards Air Force Base for about 6.5 years. But
Wow. Wow,
ironically
wow.
enough, I wanted to get into the entertainment industry. I auditioned to try to be on some things, and the only thing I really
Okay.
felt good to be on was it was Drop Dead Diva for Lifetime, but I was an extra. Then I became a featured
Yeah.
extra. Then I met some people on there, but then I joined the military and I completely lost my way with
Wow.
everything regarding entertainment. My love for it, my creativity just
Sure.
completely got sucked away. It wasn't because of the culture of the military. It was because I just felt like, okay, I don't know anymore. I lost myself. And slowly but surely things started to
Yeah.
come back. And now I have this platform and I'm able to connect with people such as yourselves and other creators, and it keeps my spirit up and keeps me flowing in it.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's been wonderful. It's been wonderful. But
I love that. And
thank you.
I just want to say I have so many clients that I work with who are actors who maybe left the business or always wanted to be actors and never did. And they're like 60, 70 years old going,
Yeah.
I want to be an actor now. I can't tell you how many clients I have. You're 50,
Oh
60,
yeah.
70. They're like that. And it's like, why not? Why
Mhm.
not? So many people, it was hard to make a decision at 17 years old after graduating high school to move to New York City. Like that was tough. And a lot of people don't make that choice. It's a kind
Right.
of a silly choice in retrospect when you think about it, right? Risky and silly.
Yep.
So many people don't make that choice. But if you have that creative juice, like, age isn't a thing. It doesn't matter. I don't care how old you are, what you look like. If you look on television and film now, there's so many roles for all types and shapes and
Right.
sizes and colors. If that's what you want to do, or if you want to write or produce, I don't think it's ever too late to try something if it's
Yeah.
your passion,
No,
for
that's
sure.
that's so motivational to hear as well. That because some people, especially when they hit that age range, feel like it's too late. That hey, I missed my calling.
Yeah.
There's I don't have a chance now to do it. And truth be told, no, that's not true. And coming from an
Right.
expert saying it directly, and just me and knowing that when it comes to writing, some people feel like they don't know when it's the right time to write a story, whether they're writing a book or they're writing a screenplay. They just don't know. But I feel like if you have it in
Yeah.
you, especially if the thought is a reoccurring one and you feel deep down that you have a story to tell, and you look around, you see in
Yeah.
bookstores there's thousands of books. They can fit one of yours in there, or you see all of these films. They can fit one of your
Exactly.
movies into it. That's at least my thought process. So don't feel
Yes.
like you
Yes.
like your thought process is minuscule in contrast to the contemporaries who've been doing it for a long time. I think there's always space for a new
Right.
voice, and there's always space for a new space for a new
Yes.
face as well. I'll ask you a few more questions, and then I'll let you get out of your way. Because I wanted to speak to you about you
Yeah.
as a career coach as well. How
Okay.
fulfilling has that been for
Yeah.
you?
Oh, I love it.
Yeah.
I love it. I started coaching in New York, and honestly, so I went to, NYU, which was like one of the top three acting schools in the country. And I think when I
Hmm.
graduated, I had this thought that like, I'm going to be on Broadway next year,
Yep.
like, oh, this career is so easy, like
Yep.
I have NYU on my resume. How great, and it was so hard and
I
it didn't
bet.
work out that way at all. And I booked work here and there, right? But I think my success in my 20s was very random and rare,
Yeah.
it wasn't consistent. And I also realized I also had a lot of limiting beliefs holding me back as an artist. Like I knew I had talent. I knew who I was. But I always carried this belief, like, I didn't deserve to be paid for my art. Who am I to have, like, I'm probably one of the only people in my family that went to college. Well, one of the few people in my family that went to college, but to go to college to be an actor.
Yeah.
Like, I had guilt coming out of school for that, you know, who am I to do that? So I carried around a lot of this stuff for a long time. So it took about 8 years. And after 8 years of floundering, going, what am I doing? I realized I needed to, like, figure it out, you know?
Yeah.
So I started pinpointing that it was like mindset and business skills that I was missing. So I took about 6 months and I read every business book that I could get my hands on branding, marketing, sales, networking, you name it.
Yeah.
And I started going, okay, how can I apply these big business principles that corporations are using, and how can I take them and apply them to me, the artist, the thinking, feeling, sensitive being who is a product? How can I take these principles and apply them to myself? So I started doing that and started creating all these systems for myself in terms of branding and networking and all of that. And literally 6 months after doing that, was when I got to join the Actors Equity Union in New York. I got an off-Broadway show. I got my first agent. Like, all this stuff started going. And I was like, wow, that's what was missing this whole time. I had no idea. And so around that same time, all of my friends were like, what are you doing? Can we take you out for coffee? Can we pick your brain? What's happening? You know? And so I probably had like 40 coffee dates, free coffee dates. And then then I was like, I think I have a skill set here that I could monetize.
Sure.
And then I started my coaching business, which, you know, that it started off very small, and I had a partner in that business at the time. And, you know, within like 2 years, we were traveling the country, teaching at universities, and we wrote a book that started selling globally, and like all this stuff started happening. It was like, wow. And that's how it started, you know. And then unfortunately that business partner and I had a falling out about like 9 years into the business. So then I took a little bit of a break and came back. But yeah, now I've been coaching actors for about 16 years now.
Wow.
And so the business has had multiple incarnations, but it started off that I was missing something, that I needed to figure it out. So really it started selfishly, me trying to figure it out on my own for myself. But then being able to share that with people, you know, has been really great.
You know, I love the idea about branding, because that's just something. So I'm not a coach by any means. I just, you know, like to motivate people, help them keep them afloat, keep their creative juices flowing. But one of the things I learned early on, just as an author, was the importance of brand building, because it's, hey, okay, how do we sell this book, or how do we sell anything and make a profit out of it? And I learned that, you know, if people know who you are, one, and they like you, two, they're more likely to buy from you. But if you are a genuine person and what you're presenting, and they trust who you are, and that will spread, that's the brand right there. And I would sometimes use the example as like Nike or Target or Walmart or McDonald's, and their logo, their logo is an easy representation of their brand, or just the name itself. So how do you as the actor, or you as the author, or you as the person, emulate what the brand that they're portraying for yourself? And it sounds like you got to figure it out early on. And because of that, others are like, oh, some coffee dates, you have 40. Do you want a 41st one? You know, that's awesome.
Exactly. But that's exactly what even when I talk to actors about branding, like I look to corporations, and it's like, you see the swoosh, you know, that's Nike, you know what that company stands for. You know, you see the golden arches, you know, without even having the name McDonald's, you know what that is. And those are companies that have done a really good job of branding themselves into your minds of who they are and what they do. And as an actor, like, that's your headshot, that's your logo. What's your logo for your name, right? What is your color scheme, your fonts, that you subliminally let people know who you are and what you do. And it's really important to understand that.
That color contrast,
you know, the packaging of it. Yeah, the packaging of it, but also, I think as an artist, I talk a lot about branding themes as an artist. And
Hmm.
for me, that's, like, what are the stories that you tell better than anybody else?
Right.
What are those themes that you're drawn to? And if you start to like even pay attention to the movies you watch, the TV shows you watch, like what are those roles that you're like, oh man, I love that role? Or books that you read and you're like, oh, this character, I love it so much. Like you got to start to ask yourself why? Why am I drawn to this? Because if you can start to understand the psychology of the characters that you're
Yeah.
drawn to, it'll help you really understand your own branding in terms of themes and story that you want to
Yeah.
tell. And then how do you manifest that in your marketing tools to let people see it?
Man, hey, she gave you that for free. So take that advice.
Yes, that did.
That is paid services right there. He's 16 years worth. That's paid services. So, hey, wow. So, man, there's so many more questions I want to ask. But I'll just ask you one more, maybe two more, because I want to talk about the summit too. But
Okay.
for your
Oh, yeah.
how can people, if they wanted to be a part of having you as their coach, where can they go and how can they, I guess, fill out maybe an application or whatnot, or what's the process for them
Sure.
to hire you as an acting coach?
Got it. So let me clarify. It's a career coach, not an
Career
acting
coach.
coach, just to
Sorry,
get the like
let me mess
title
that.
right. Because I
Sorry.
focus on business. No, you're good. No, people call me that all the time.
Career coach.
People call me that all the time. It's totally fine. Just for clarity. So yeah, my website, actor-insider.com is my company. You can find me on Instagram at Actor Insider. I have a YouTube channel, a YouTube tube. Yep, a YouTube
YouTube
tube
too. That one.
called Actor Insider. I have a lot of free YouTube tube. We just branded something new. Look at that.
There it is.
You could go there. I have a lot of free content that I put out. So first of all, watch some of my stuff. I have a lot of free stuff you can download on my website. Go there, get a feel for what I teach, see if it resonates with you. I think it's so important to vibe with a coach and just resonate with what they say. So first of all, start there. And then you can read about, my programs and my courses. You can email me. My team can help answer any questions. But I have memberships, I have courses, I have group coaching programs, a lot of things like that. So it just depends on the level, I guess, of hand holding that you would want,
Yeah,
or what you really need. So, but yeah, the website really helps you narrow it down.
for sure. Thank you for that information. And the last, the next one I want to ask you is about the summit.
Yeah.
If you don't mind, I know you have something coming up regarding
Yes.
that. So if you don't mind, just give us some details on that for those who are listening.
Yes. So, the industry has changed a lot, right, over the past 5 years since COVID, the entertainment industry, and I'm sure the writing industry. I mean, so much of the creative world has changed in how we do business. And even within my industry now, like the strikes happened. We've had a couple different strikes in our in our unions, and the way of doing business has changed. So one thing that I wanted to sort of give back to the community was insider access to the people making casting decisions and the decision makers in our business. Just what's going on behind the doors for them, right? How is business now for them? How are they handling business differently? What insights are they seeing on how actors could navigate this business differently? So I decided to put together the summit, and I have 18 industry professionals. I have casting directors, producers, working actors. And I've been doing interviews just like this with a bunch of
Yeah.
industry people to get their insight on what's working now in the industry. So it's called We Audition, which is a software that actors use to self-tape auditions. They're our main sponsor. So now our event is called We Audition: The Shortlist, and it's coming up in August. It's an epic 5-day summit event to really give actors the insight of what the industry is thinking, but then I'll also be providing a lot of tools in terms of branding, marketing, networking, and how to do that in this day and age.
Perfect. Very nice. Very nice. And so, with that being said, I will make sure that the website you provided, all of the social media handles that you provided, I will make sure that that's all linked in the description of this video and in the audio recording of this video will also be
Awesome.
included. So, the final question I would love to ask you is really in regards to advice, right? So, it's not really a question, but for somebody who's just getting into the industry, right, to become an actor or an actress, and they see what's around their experience, there's, I don't know if there's any space for me. I'm scared. I don't even know if I should get started. Maybe I should go do something else. But in my heart, I feel like I should do it. Like, what would you tell them? What advice would you give them to just go forward and get started in this career?
Yeah. Ooh, how much time do we got? I got a lot to say.
Yeah.
No, if there's a desire, I think you get to follow that. You know, one thing I don't want in my life is regrets. Of course, I have them. We all do. But I think if there's a desire there, you get to follow that. And there's going to be so many people who say, if you can do anything else than be an artist, go do it. Don't listen to those people. They're only saying that because they didn't have the courage to go do it themselves, or they tried and failed. So don't let other people project their fear or their own failure onto you. Number one. Number two, I think it's really about getting in touch with your why. Really understanding why. Why do you want to do this? Why do you want to act? Why do you want to write? Why do you want to be in this, in whatever creative field it is? I think, if you can hold on to that why, that's what's going to keep you going. I think the people who forget why they're doing it, those are the people who get bitter, jaded, and burnt out and leave the business or complain or whatever, Yeah. So I think it's really important to know your why and be really clear on your value system. Because we make decisions based on our values. And like I said earlier, I think it's really easy to get sucked into other people's vision or just say yes to everything. And I think it's really important to know, no, these are the stories I want to tell. I hold family as a big value for me. I want to be telling family stories. I don't want to do this other stuff. I don't want to be on Game of Thrones or whatever it is, really understand your value system and what motivates you and how you make choices. And then, of course, you need craft and business skills and all of that and do that training. But I think first and foremost, you got to get really honest with yourself about why you want it and get really clear with how you want to run your business. Because a lot of people are going to try to tell you what to do and how to do and who you should be. And I think starting from that strong foundation of, no, but this is who I am and this is why I'm doing it is really powerful.
Yeah. Thank you so much for that. It's clear, concise, and literally descriptive and to the point. And it is very much a real thing for people who they stay lying in their head and really never take that step forward because they allow other people's failures or other people's fear to manifest into themselves. And now what could have been is never there because they never took that chance. Or maybe they took it, but they were around people who had small-minded thought processes, or maybe even sometimes it's within their own family and they project their fears onto them because, one, those fears are more out of protection, but you yourself may have an opportunity to really push forward. And now we're in a creative space where people can record their own films and do their own thing.
Yeah.
But I think as a whole, you just got to go. You just got to give it a shot and give it your best efforts and then see what happens from there. Would you agree with that?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well,
yes.
Jodie, thank you so much for coming on to the show. Jodie, thank you so much. It was an honor. It was a pleasure. And I'm sure you're going to continue and your career is going to continue to skyrocket.
Thank you.
Yes. Oh, yes, indeed. And looking forward to seeing your work in this film that that I think you said supposed to start filming in April.
April of next year is our goal. April 2026. So
I can't wait. Yeah, I can't wait. Hey, any closing remarks before I let you go?
Oh gosh. Well, just first of all, thank you for what you do and inspiring artists. I think that's what it's about, And like I mentioned earlier, it's like as an artist, you get to believe in yourself the most, right? And I think sometimes we look for that outside validation. Oh, if this person says I'm good, or if I get this feedback, then I'm good. It's like, no, you got to believe that you are good. And that's what's going to sustain you. So thank you for creating a platform to inspire people to tap back into their belief.
Yes, of course. Thank you. And thank you for coming on board. And thank you all to everyone who's listened to this episode. And It's been a joy. It was funny. It was fun. It was exciting. And I got a lot of information. And I'm certainly going to take what you said to heart as well and apply a great deal of what you talked about to my own life and to what I'm doing here. And just keep helping out everybody on the way and doing what we can for ourselves. Hey, thank you all so much for taking the time out of your day to tune in to today's episode. You're live with Osiris and Jodie Bentley. And we'll catch you next time. Take care.